Okay, so today we're going to be replacing the auger belt on a Toro PowerMax 1128 OXE, but really this could be any Toro. They've kept the belt system pretty simple and pretty consistent throughout the years. We're going to start this out. We're going to use our 5/16 or 8mm nut driver. If this doesn't work for you, you might need a ratchet. We're going to use this to remove the belt cover. Now that I've gotten the screws out, these belt covers tend to be a little tight in here, even though they are modular. We have to sneak it out of the way. So as we get in here, it might scare you a little bit, there's a lot going on, but this is the belt that we're after. Ours has become exceedingly loose, and so we're going to have to get in here and replace it. Luckily, Toro gives us plenty of room to do so. So our next step is to remove these two bolts on the belt guard or belt fingers, depending how you call it, and we're going to pull that out of the way. This is a 1/2-inch wrench. You can use a ratcheting wrench if you're impatient, but don't get it stuck between the pulley and the block. So you're probably going to want to switch over to the open end or your fingers. Now it's time for quite possibly the most frustrating part of the job. You're going to sneak the belt out past the belt guard that stops the impeller pulley when the machine is not under demand. So when we come over here, I've already removed this little spring here, and down inside of there you can see that little rubber foot moving up against the pulley. We're going to try and sneak the belt past that. So we're going to remove this belt guard that we just unbolted. We obviously, with the spark plug disconnected here because we're safety conscious, there's no gas in this. We're going to go ahead and we're going to spin this off of here. Shouldn't really have to turn the engine over, but if you do, oh well. So we're going to slide it out behind the pulley, and then when we get to a certain point, we're going to force this out of the way. We're just going to roll it right off there. Now that we've gotten it out of the way, I'm going to engage the traction pulley to give us a little bit of extra clearance. I'm going to sneak the belt out the rest of the way, trying not to catch on anything, even though it is the old belt. Alright, so here we go, ladies and gentlemen. To make sure I have the same belt, this is a very rudimentary technique. I always give it what I call the Robin Hood, to try and make sure it's about the same length, and these seem to be. So this is the effective edge of the belt. You can see on our new belt that you can see all these cords showing here, and on this one it's very worn. What's also quite noticeable is that the inside diameter of the belt has begun to crack on our old one. On our new one, it's nice and shiny. Now I'm going to reverse the procedure of removing the belt. I'm going to engage the traction pulley, try and sneak this belt back sort of into place. If you don't get it just right, that's okay. You can take multiple chances at this. Hopefully it's not pouring down snow outside while you're trying to put your belt on. Okay, so back to our good old friend, the belt guard over here. This holds the belt, keeps tension on it. We had some trouble with him getting the old belt off, so now we're going to try and get the new belt on. So the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to put the belt in the channel that it belongs in, then I'm going to attempt to spin this pulley and sneak it by this belt guard. I have to put the flashlight down to do this, so you're going to lose sight of what I'm doing real quick. Sorry. Alright, so down here I've actually managed to get the belt beyond this guard. I did remove this return spring up here, but we're going to use him now to help keep the belt in place as we roll it the rest of the way onto the pulley. So this is the spring I removed earlier just so I didn't have to fight with it. And what I'm going to do, luckily there's not a whole lot of tension on it when it's not in use, so I'm just going to pop this back into the position from whence it came. So my friend's machine, I knew that his belt was getting worn. I didn't want him to get stuck out in the snow, so I tensioned his belt for him using the adjustment available on this pulley. I now have to undo that adjustment I did with these two 9/16 wrenches. I moved it to the more inboard hole, but I'm now returning it to its original position. I'm actually going to leave it off while I reinstall this belt, and then while we're in here checking the belt or replacing the belt, we're going to check the impeller bearing. So I'm just going to take a little bit of tension off of this pulley, and I'm going to move this up and down. You can hear a slight click. That means there's a tiny bit of play in the impeller bearing, but I don't think it's anything abnormal. So now that I think that's good, I'm just going to go ahead and roll this back on. I do have the spark plug undone because I am going to be turning the engine over to do this. You don't want to force this. You don't want to really push that belt. You see how easily it went on? You want it to go on just that easy. Okay, so now that the belt is back in place, I'm going to go ahead and put this belt guard back on with our two 5/16 bolts here. And then I'm going to go ahead and reinstall our tensioner pulley, probably one of the more important parts of the job. You don't want this guard not in place, because if this should slack up or do something funky, it can engage without you wanting it to engage. So make sure that you keep these nuts relatively tight. Don't overdo it because it is an aluminum case. And then we're going to put this back in its original position. We're going to make sure our tension's okay after we get it all put together. Now, with help from a friend, I'm going to engage the belt and make sure everything works smoothly. So up over here, I want to make sure it comes off the finger here when the lever's being pushed down. And look at that, it just barely